Hello, welcome to my photographs of my walk around the lake that I did on the 3rd of January 2022. A variety of birds will be seen in this video, and that's the magpie. And the egrets, well, they're still in the usual trees nesting. They've been there for months now, and their chicks are getting very big. I was surprised to see this thistle plant growing in the lake. I took photos of it. It was still there for several weeks before finally somebody got rid of it. Of course, it is an introduced species and a weed here. This is an adult dusky moorhen. The family groups stay together for a couple of generations apparently, and that one, that's a chick that's just changing colour to get its adult colours. You can see its beak is going a bit orange, and so is its legs. Taking care of the young chicks is a family group effort, but still hardly any of the chicks grow up to become mature birds. So it's great to see one that looks like it's just about made it to adulthood. Hopefully, with all the new reeds that have been planted around the lake during 2022, that the number of chicks that survive will increase. There are just so many predators in the lake waters. Eels in particular love to eat the chicks and the eggs. There's cormorants sitting on the branches of that dead tree. I think they're mostly little pied cormorants, but there could be a couple of little black cormorants in there as well. Intermediate egrets and cattle egrets are nesting on the ground and in the trees where the cormorants are also nesting. There's the cormorants again. Of course, the very noisy little corellas were around in huge groups today as well, and they were up in the top of that tree that the egrets were nesting in. Those trees have got large green berries on them that is attracting the parrots. That's the little corellas, and the sulphur-crested cockatoos are often there in the afternoons as well. And the trees with the berries are the trees that the egrets are nesting in, not those huge gum trees that the corellas just landed in. Those birds are dropping down to the ground where they're going to start grazing on the grass. They go down fairly quickly. It's a bit windy up there on the top of the trees. Not everybody wants to go down there just yet. When they do go down, most of them will be on the ground grazing, but there'll be 2 or 3 lookouts up top, ready to warn if there's any danger coming, predatory birds or humans or other animals that might want to eat corellas. I think humans need to get very close to them before they get a little bit concerned. Most humans just get ignored. People tend to leave them alone. They are protected birds. There's big fines if you do anything to them. These corellas are in the tree above the nesting egrets, and you can see some little egrets there in the nest keeping an eye on those really annoying corellas. It's hard to tell the difference between the chicks and the adults in that nest now, since all of the chicks, once they've grown up, are white with yellow beaks. I tell them apart by the length of their necks. The longer necks belong to the intermediate egrets, and the cattle egrets have shorter necks. There's a seat there on the other side of the lake. I'll be walking around to sit on it shortly. There's a man just walked past it. But there's another seat to the right of us, and I'll probably be sitting in that one, actually, rather than the one we can see at the moment. But I'll soon be moving off to go around the other side. I'll have a look at the birds that are on this edge. There's quite a lot of birds there. There's not as many at the front where we've got most of the pictures as there are as you go around the trees. I've moved along the path a bit now and looking at a different angle at these trees, and as you can see there are more birds in there than were apparent when we were on the other side of the trees, because that's corellas going there now, and the little egrets are flapping their wings learning how to fly. They're all over the trees. There's a dusky moorhen and some egrets nesting on the ground. There's a tortoise sitting on a rock. That's a very tall rock. The water's quite deep there. Here we go, I'm on the seat now. I'm on the seat that you couldn't see. That's the bridge I walked over and got the video of the tortoises for the previous video. In this video I'll be showing more of the surrounds of the lake, all of the areas like that playground in the distance, instead of just focusing on what's happening in the water and in the trees that are in the water. Although we'll still see plenty of the birds. Don't think there's any fish in this one. That's Banksia, that's an Australian native tree. There are lots of varieties of Banksia and some of them have got really colourful flowers, but that's colourful, but it's brownish coloured flower. That small building with the red tiled roof in the distance there, that's where I go when I'm taking photos of the egrets in the nests, or where we see the big nest with the egrets quite close to us. Sometimes I see all sorts of different varieties of birds swimming around on this side of those little islands, but there's not many extra birds around on this occasion. I liked that cattle egret there in the middle of the tree, all fluffed up. Moving along the path a bit further, there's a swamp hen just down in the lake. It's very shallow at that point, and that's a yellow bottle brush flower. Looking back along the path that I've just come from, and a water dragon. That would be about the only water dragon that I got a picture of today, and there was my only coot as well. They didn't seem to be wanting to get their photos taken. Just some water weeds growing in the lake, a darter sitting on a dragon, sunning itself. The fountain's not turned on so it won't get wet while it sits there, and the ducks are still at the lake. Look at that. On the other side I've got to cross the bridge yet. That's native flowers and very common in people's gardens. And another dusky moorhen. So now I've crossed the bridge and I'm standing near that pair of ducks. There's a little pied cormorant there. It's diving for its dinner or its breakfast. It's gone down again, leaving a big circle above the water. Circle above the water. There it is, up and back down again. And that is a swamp hen. And there's another little pied cormorant just flew in. There's two of them there now hunting in the lake. This is that little pond that's just up above the little weir. There's those ducks, so I'm standing just near them. I think that first cormorant that was there looks like it might be a little black cormorant, because the little pied cormorant's got a lot of white on its face and chest, but the little black cormorants are all black. They're both in the lake. I continue my progress around the lake, and as I approach the next seat I'd like to sit on, I see it's occupied by a willie wagtail. So I very carefully walk to the other end of the seat and sit down, but the little bird flits across to land on a rock. Then it stands and it turns around and watches me for a while. These are the best pictures I've got of a willie wagtail for a long time. They eat insects, and mostly we see them darting across the top of the water with the swallows, catching insects. This one has been busily hunting for an insect as well, although I didn't know it at the time. But when it decided that it was worth the risk of flying towards me and landing on the ground beside me, I realised that it had had an insect in sight and it wasn't going to let its meal go. So it flew across, landed on the bricks that the seat was on, and caught a bug and ate it, and then it flew off. I'm getting closer to the end of my walk. I need to walk behind those blue roofs there to get back to my car. There's some lichen on a rock beside the lake. The trees on the islands at the end of the lake is where all of those egrets are nesting. And I got very surprised. There was a kookaburra and it just sat there and it stared at me. So I took a few photos of it. I don't usually see them so close. And there's a darter. And that's the end. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please give it a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. And so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.